Before we actually install the UiPath platform, I want to give you a big picture understanding of the various parts of the UiPath platform and how we're going to use them as RPA developers. In an earlier lecture, I told you that the UiPath platform is primarily comprised of UiPath Studio, which is what we use for creating automated processes. Then we publish those automated processes into the orchestrator server, where one or more people can connect a robot machine, and that gives them access to this little UiPath assistant down here in the taskbar. When we click on that, it presents us with a window that will show a list of any processes the robot user has permissions to view and run, and they'll each have a start button on them. So just to get you excited and motivated, I want to build the simplest possible automated process and show you the end-to-end workflow of developing, publishing, and then running the automated process. So for now, just sit back and watch this, and in the next section, we'll install the platform and get hands-on. So I've got UiPath Studio open. I'll go to the Home menu and click on this process icon to create a new project. I'll name it My Simple Process, and I don't tend to use the default path they recommend. Instead, I typically click on this folder icon, jump into my C drive, create a new folder called Robotics, and select that folder. And down here is just some free-form text. And I'll just say my first one. Notice we have the ability to use VB or C# for any programming snippets we might include. I think VB is still most popular, so I'll show most of my examples using that, but I'll do some C# examples later. So when I click on Create, the three most important things we'll deal with is this canvas area and this panel on the left side, which has a tab for activities that we can drag and drop into our canvas, but also a tab for project, so we can see the various packages that provide the activities in this tab that we can use, and also our main.xaml file, which is the entry point for the automated process. The third most important thing is this panel on the right side, which, as you'll see in a minute, allows us to set properties for these activities that we'll drag and drop. When I click on Open Main Workflow, that opens up this main.xaml file in our canvas. And you can see it says drop activity here. And there's two ways I can do this. I can either go to the Activities tab and expand these things to look around, or just type in the name of the activity I'm looking for and click to drag and drop it into the canvas. The other way is to click on this plus sign, which presents this window where I can also type what I'm looking for and either double click on it or use a keyboard shortcut of Alt-1 to cause that activity to appear in the canvas. This is the newer way to do things, but I still prefer to drag and drop things from the Activities tab because there are some activities that don't yet have this little plus symbol functionality. So for consistency's sake, I like to drag and drop things into the canvas. So this sequence is just a container that allows me to drag in more activities to do work in a linear flow. The best practice is to double-click in the title area and rename it to something intuitive. Here I'll just say, do some work. Now I'll search for another activity called message box, and I will drag and drop this inside that container and let go. I'll double-click to rename this as say hello, and now that properties window I was telling you about over here on the right appears. You can click this to expand it, and several different properties are available for the currently selected object. The message box just presents a dialog that shows some text, so it's telling me I need to put some text in here surrounded by quotes. So I'll open up a quote, and notice that it automatically closes my quote for me. And I'll type in hello from a robot. And this is the most simple automated process you can create. It's basically akin to the Hello World examples you might have seen in a programming class. So I'll Control S to save. And to run this locally from UiPath Studio, I go to my Design menu and use this Debug File button, click on the down arrow, and select Run. So of course, that simply pops up a dialog that says Hello from a robot, as we might expect. And when I click on OK, the process terminates and brings back UiPath Studio. We still don't see that process in our UiPath Assistant. So the way we get it into the UiPath Assistant is by going to the Design menu and using this Publish button, which, as you can see, reflects the name that I gave the project, and we have the opportunity to supply a version. when I go to Publish Options, I'll have multiple places where I can publish it that I'll cover later. But for now, I'm just going to put it into my personal workspace feed, which is this folder on the Orchestrator server. So when I do publish it, the package is going to go into this Automations tab, My Packages, and the runnable process that we'll see in this assistant is going to be visible from this Processes tab. So we publish a package and we make a process out of that package that we can then see and start from this UiPath assistant. So let's bring UiPath Studio back, leave this set to personal workspace, and click on Publish. It tells us it's done. And now when I go look in Orchestrator and use the refresh button here, notice we now see my simple process in Orchestrator and the package that that process is made from. And of course, now when I bring up the UiPath assistant, we now see my simple process awaiting install. So the assistant software can see the process, but it's not yet on my local computer as a robot user. When I click on the Start button, it downloads the process, starts the job, and of course presents the message box as we would expect. So that is the entire end-to-end process of using UiPath Studio to create the automated process, then publish it into Orchestrator as a process, which can then be seen in the UiPath assistant, and a user can click on the Start button to run it anytime they want. So now that you understand the big picture, let's go ahead and install the software and get your hands on it.